what's going on with the 4th of July coming up? I know as a trauma level 3 at Baxter Regional Medical Center, you as a trauma coordinator get to see all sorts of folks coming through the doors at our Klein Emergency Center. And what can we do to help folks not come through those doors?
It's been busy, and of course with the summertime, we're all outside. So we've seen an increase in our car accidents and even just our boating and accidents and tubing accidents.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that everybody's safe this 4th of July weekend on the lake, on the river, with their fireworks or whatever. Of course, with their fireworks, we want everybody to watch the professional displays. That's the safest route that you can go, is watch your professional displays. But if you're going to have fireworks at home, of course, make sure that you have a water hose, a bucket of water.
See, that just is such good common sense. Have it right there.
Yes.
I remember as a little kid with sparklers.
Right.
Wow.
And we always give our kids those sparklers, but those sparklers heat up to almost 2,000 degrees.
Really?
It's like a blowtorch that we're handing our kids.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it too.
Who knew?
Who knew? So that's why we're trying to spread the word about injury prevention, because that sparklers and bottle rockets actually cause the most injuries nationally. And what we see are hand injuries, finger injuries, even feet injuries to the foot and burns to the feet because kids are barefoot or have flip-flops on. They step on those hot sparklers if they're on the ground, or they drop them on their foot and they come in with burns. We also do see some face and eye injuries because of sparkler sparks or things like that. So just be very careful. Also, if you have, you know, a dud, one of those bottle rockets or one of those fireworks that don't ignite and don't go off, do not approach it and do not try to relight it. Give it some time. Spray it with a water hose. You don't want to try to get your money's worth.
This is not a time.
Exactly. That's when you see those fireworks injuries that, you know, someone is leaning over it and it decides to ignite right there. Of course, if you are going to have displays at your home, make sure, you know, you get away quickly from, you know, your area. Keep kids away and your animals, have your water hoses. Try to be aware of where are these going to go.
Not down on your neighbor's roof. Not a good idea, or a big pile of leaves that just happens to be left over. So.
It is, you know, we've had a lot of rain, so we've been very fortunate this year. We get to have fireworks this year, but there's always something that could catch fire. And so just be aware where those things go. And keep your kids safe and read your directions. Use your fireworks like they're supposed to be used.
Right. And I would think too, it's called, you know, I always kind of want to jump in here and say, and adults, be an adult. You know, you know, it's fun for everyone. But I think sometimes the adults become kids at heart. And you know, this applies to all of you as well. Make sure you're using those firecrackers exactly the way the directions ask you to do it, and don't try to impress your kids.
No, because our kids watch us, and if we're holding the bottle rocket, or if we're holding the bottle with the bottle rocket coming out, or whatever, if we're doing funny things or we're doing off-label things with our fireworks, then our kids are going to try to do that also. They mimic us. So we need to set a good example for our kids. And also, if you do, for whatever reason, if you do catch fire, if your clothing catches fire, you need to teach your children the basic steps of stop, drop, and roll. If you ever have your person or your clothing to catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Of course, remove those clothing. While you're waiting for an ambulance, call 911 or bring your kids to the ER or your family to the ER. We don't want to see injuries like that, but you do need to know that you need to be treated quickly for something like that.
For burns.
Yes.
Do you recommend, not to put you on the spot here, but it just made me think of something. I know the stop, so in other words, don't go running. That's just going to cause the combustion to go further and faster. And then drop and then roll, which would give even someone time to maybe get the hose or the water bucket, something on top of them.
Put out that fire.
Should they cut off the burned clothing?
Yes.
Okay, get anything away off the patient or the person.
Because a lot of those materials are synthetic. And they'll continue to melt and burn. So even your belt buckle, you know, it's metal, your watch, it's metal, that'll continue to burn underneath that because it's hot. And, you know, don't put ice on your burns. You would think put ice, but don't put ice. You could put some pour cool water on the person, and of course bring them to the ER, but not ice. Ice will damage that skin and that tissue.
Not butter.
Yeah, not butter,
We
right?
used to always be told,
You're
put
exactly
butter on a burn.
right. When I was a kid, they put butter on.
Sure, it's like, okay, so don't butter your child. Don't ice your child.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And even the state of Arkansas is advertising that if you have a burn, if your child has a burn the size of a quarter, to seek medical treatment.
Really?
So come to the ER or seek your doctor if they have a burn the size of a quarter, because some of those injuries, even if they're on the hand and they look very minor, after they start swelling and things like that, they're so close to your fingers that the tissue damage and the blood supply to the ends of your fingers are really, injuring. And if we could get on top of that quickly, sometimes they need quick treatment, even if it looks minor.
And infection, I know, can always be a huge concern.
Yes.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think we think at home that we've cleaned it thoroughly when in fact, just like you said, professional fireworks, have the professionals make sure they clean it.
Have them take a look at it. It's, and burns are scarring, and, they're not just physical and painful. They're a very painful injury, but they're also psychological.
Oh, sure.
You see people that I had a friend that had bad burns one time, and it was very psychological for them to go through that.
I can remember that years ago, and being more mature than you are, Mandy. I can remember a little girl, and that was before all of the clothing was fireproof or flameproof, and she had a snowsuit on, and her dad was burning leaves in the outdoor barbecue or grill, and she walked into it and the snowsuit caught on fire, and she was a mess. Not only the burns, but like you say, the psychological impact was horrible. I mean, this sweet little girl, and here she is, and of course the father felt horrible, and I mean they both carry the scars, so to speak.
Exactly right. You're exactly right.
What can people do on boats? What are you recommending for out on the lakes or rivers for folks out in their boats?
Everyone needs to have a life jacket, and those life jackets need to be Coast Guard approved. Life jackets, there's a label on your life jacket that says that they are U.S. Coast Guard approved. Everyone in the boat, there should be enough life jackets for everyone on the boat. And of course, kids 12 and under need to be wearing life jackets in the boat.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yes. Yeah. And there's courses for personal watercraft that, if you were born after 1986, that you actually are required to take those. You have to be 16 and older to drive those. If you have a child, you can have a child like 12 years old with an adult on the back of that personal watercraft and assisting them with driving. And I know it's fun. We want to make sure everybody is safe.
Sure.
And just like driving, you cannot be under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Do they patrol the lakes?
Yes, they do.
And write tickets for drunk
tickets.
Boat drivers?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, they will do breathalyzers if they suspect that the driver of that boat is
impaired. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
So very interesting. We don't want anyone to have that kind of.
No. You can have
a
whole lot of fun
without. Fun.
Yeah.
But not that.
But
that just ruins your time.
Yeah.
So always have a designated driver on your boat also.
Designated.
As well as having a designated driver on the boat, you need to have a designated watcher. If you're in the lake swimming, or if you're in a pool or river or whatever, you need to have an adult being the designated watcher of whatever children that are swimming and all the people swimming in the lake. So that one person isn't on their phone. They're not on their laptop or reading a book or anything like that. They're just sitting there watching the kids
watch guard
swim.
or the
they're a little lifeguard.
Little lifeguards.
And preferably, if they know CPR, that would be your person. And they're not they're not drinking. They're not using drugs. They're very aware of their surroundings and watching the kids and constantly watching. Because it's so easy for something to happen, and you could turn away and something happens. They also recommend that your children be within arm's length away. Yes,
no more than that.
Under 5, you should be able to touch them at all times in the water. So we all put on our life jacket and we feel very safe, of course, when we start bobbing around in the lake or in the pool, like mine do. And but that child under 5 needs to be where you can actually, you're touching them. And if they're older than 5, they need to be arm's length away.
Good practical. Now, I'd not heard that before, and that's great.
Yes. Well, and they take off from you and they want to play, but just take off with them.
Yeah. Well, and exactly. And I mean, and how many of us have, we've all seen our kids do it. It's run on the wet deck.
Yes.
Okay. Slide. I mean, you could hit your head, fall in the water, the whole thing.
Yes.
And be unconscious. So
yes,
it can happen in the blink of an eye.
It happens to all of us. You can have as many watchers as you can, but it happens to all of us. So you also need to teach your kids about being safe in the water. Teach them that we're not supposed to be running by the pool or on the deck or at the boat dock. That accidents can happen, and they can fall, and they can hit their heads, and they can fall in the water after they hit their head, which is even worse. We need to teach our kids that we never swim alone. And even as adults, we should never swim alone.
Betcha.
Because you just never know what's going to happen. I mean,
there's still a lot under the lakes, isn't there?
A lot under the lakes.
Yeah.
You can hit something, especially jumping in and cliff diving. You can hit a rock or a tree or something and really get hurt. So you never want to be alone. You always want to have someone with you. Be aware of your surroundings and where you're jumping in at, of course.
Because you'll never stop the cliff jumping. That's sort of a rite of passage for teenagers.
It is, even if I was always too chicken. I was always too chicken to do things like that. And I try to make my kids chicken too, right? But they'll still do it, but just be very aware of how high the water is.
How slippery.
How slippery, where you're at, because that's very dangerous. And the more we teach our kids and make them more aware of the safety and the warnings and things like that, the better that they'll be. They'll be more cautious. I know my little girl, nope, there's no running. She'll get on to her big brother and things like that. So they'll police each other, and they'll be better swimmers and things for it. And even though we teach our kids how to swim, and they've had lessons and they know how to swim, that still doesn't make them drown proof.
Right.
So even though you know how to swim or you've had swimming lessons and things like that, accidents happen, kids go underwater.
And we're not always as strong a swimmer perhaps as we think we are.
Exactly.
It's I came from the land of currents and oceans, and and if you get caught up in a tide, that's taking you out. So swim parallel to the beach.
Yes.
I remember that one. Because don't try and swim back in straight in.
It just wears you out.
Sure.
Exactly. It just wears you completely out.
And that's exactly how a lot of swimmers die.
Oh, yeah.
They're just pooped. They can't do it.
So we want to make sure everybody has fun, but is safe. And also if you're skiing or if you're on the tube and you're being pulled by any kind of water.
Motorboat? Craft,
yes.
Yep.
You're supposed to wear a life jacket. Even if you're on that tube, you feel safe, but you're supposed to be wearing your life jackets when you get off and out of the boat. And even whenever the boat is moving, you need to be wearing a life jacket if they're 12 and under. So.
And most of these boat docks sell the life jackets, the ones that you recommend, and they sell all of that stuff. They've got it in there.
They're right there. Yeah. So you can get them at any of your boat docks. You can get them at Walmart.
Yeah.
Even water wings and things like that, those inflatables are not Coast Guard.
No.
So even though they're fun, you have to have a life jacket on the water.
That's all good to know. And I would think right now, I've noticed more and more things, because even though we're talking about the 4th of July, but summer from a retail standpoint, they're already starting to put everything on sale.
Yes.
So they've got to move it out to get in the next batch of stuff for fall. So
to get the snow shovels out.
Yeah. No, don't say that.
Right.
Mandy, we need to take a short break. We will be right back. Don't go away. We'll give you some more tips on how to stay safe this summer. We'll be right back.